Hi, I'm CJ Elmberg with Transwest Truck Trailer RV in Frederick, Colorado. We've got a brand new Cimarron Stierwalt sitting behind us here. This is a great package. If you don't need to go the full extreme route of our kind of larger 30-foot air rides, this is a really popular setup here. This is a 2026 Cimarron Stierwalt. Let's go ahead and take a look at the drawing and I'll show you some specs on the trailer. This one here is going to be 8 foot wide. It is 6'4" tall. And then this one's 25 foot on the floor, but it's got that front tack with a side ramp going into it. We'll talk about that when we get to the actual front tack, but this is a great package for, you know, maybe you've got, you're needing a starter trailer for your kids, or maybe you're on the tail end and maybe you're just dragging a couple calves with one kid, or you just don't want to go that big trailer, you know, route as far as, you know, floor length and optioned up. This is very well equipped. We'll just start right here at the front. You're gonna get a couple marker lights on that top rail. That became standard about a year ago. You know, we were doing it on a lot of our custom trailers, but now they've made it standard. I think it dresses up the trailer. You got the stainless sheet on the nose itself, so again, dresses it up a little bit more. You're gonna have this B&W coupler. It's rated for 25,000 pounds. It's a B&W made coupler, so it's made here in the US. Now, this isn't a big trailer by any means, but there does have some benefit to this coupler. This is the 3rd generation, so you notice this lower handle. For instance, you see right here on this drawing, there used to be a taller handle right there. And what it allowed when we went to this is it allowed for one more hole to get drilled in there. So we have a little bit more flexibility with that coupler in that actual stem if we need to move it up or down to make sure this trailer's running nice and level with bed clearance. Again, I'll circle back around to that here in a minute, but you've got that capability with that setup and that lower hole drilled in there. Underneath the gooseneck, we went ahead and put a electric over hydraulic equalizer jack. This also has a manual override, so you could pump this on or off the truck in emergency situations. Okay, that does come into play at times if we have a power issue or something along that. There is another version that's a little bit cheaper, but it doesn't have that manual override. And we've had customers tell us, we've been burned by that before. Customers come in, pick up their new trailer. Recently a customer came in immediately. She looked underneath the gooseneck and looked at this jack to make sure it had that manual override, because when it did, she was very excited because she said, our trade-in doesn't have that. It has that cheaper version. We wish we wouldn't have done that because we got in a bad scenario once and couldn't pump it on or off the truck itself. Spare tires located to the left. There's enough room because this box is 8 foot wide that we can actually set that spare tire down low to the left of the jack. If you notice on some of our other inventory that's maybe a standard width, that 6'10" wide, it's a narrower box, that has to be elevated because that footprint of that hydraulic jack's a little bit bigger. But boy, talk about handy to have. Right up here's the switch for it, so it's really easy to operate, pushing a button. Again, those, you know, maybe younger juniors are helping you get hooked up. It's a heck of a lot simpler to reach up here and hit a button rather than hand cranking those guys on or off the trucks. Especially in these type of trailers, we might leave a lot of equipment on the trailer, so it's going to be a little bit heavier, you know, in this front gooseneck area because of what we're leaving on there. You're also going to get an aluminum battery box. It's going to house a 12-volt battery in there. You also have this battery disconnect. A battery disconnect became standard a couple years ago. We were constantly putting them on our trailers because when you park this trailer at home at a show and you go to step away, you just turn that battery disconnect to the off position and it'll kill all power to this trailer. So if we accidentally leave something on, we're not going to drain this battery down. Hence the point of the manual crank option on there. But we don't want to deal with power issues. So an added piece that's become standard here recently is this RedArc charger. It's a true 3-staging charger. What it does is it'll pull power from the truck based on what this battery needs. So it'll pull and keep this battery nice and topped off. It's going to work more as a supercharger, is how we explain it, versus your truck working as a trickle charger to the battery. Very slow going, doesn't really adjust. It's just kind of pulling power, but never really kind of getting to where we need it to unless you're on really long distance trips. But if we can keep this battery topped off, it's going to give it so more more life and longevity to the battery itself. And the other cool thing is that RedArc charger, it will tell us if we have power coming from the truck. So it's an immediate, you plug in, and I know if we've got 12 volt power coming from that truck. We've run into so many these newer trucks have all these little tricks. Fords, we have to synchronize to actually put 12 volt power to them. So we learned a lot about the trucks, and that RedArc charger makes a world of difference as far as keeping that battery nice and charged up. Now on the Stierwalt series, you're going to get the wraparound style nose versus the VP nose. We can actually glance in the background here. We've got a couple just using horse trailers back there. They're going to have that VP style. So in comparison, this wraparound, you get that lower rocker panel, and again, it dresses this trailer up. It's a good looking trailer. So you've got the top rail and rocker panel that match. Now, this gooseneck drop, standard's 50 inches. So that coupler that I was talking about, that's where this comes into play too. Is all of these truck manufacturers, their beds have gotten taller. Maybe you have a lifted truck, bigger wheels and tires. So, we always see it, I pay attention to so many trailers going down the road or when they come in for service, and one or two things: an older trailer with a newer truck, either the trailer is running level with minimal bed clearance, or they've nosed it up to get bed clearance, but now we've shifted more of the weight to the back axle, which is not what we want. We want to combine those two. We want bed clearance, but we also want the trailer running level for equal weight distribution on those two axles. So that's where that coupler comes into play. It gives us that flexibility. And then also, when this is a 53-inch gooseneck drop wall rather than the standard 50, gives us a little bit more flexibility, again, to truly set the trailer up how we want it to. Now, front tack room. This guy here is a 5-foot front tack. That's why we built this as a 25-foot on the floor. And the reason why is we wanted to give you a side ramp going into that front tack. We understand you're going to have your upright boxes, your blower carts, your fan carts, portable generator, those type of items. Maybe you're showing off of it. It's just easier walking on or off the ramp rather than the step. So in order to do that, we need to go from the standard 4-foot front tack to a 5. And that's because we have to have the proper bracing and framing to allow for that side ramp. So on a lot of our bigger trailers, we do some 6-footers, but in this instance here, we did a 5. So you have this ramp that's really easy to come into, again, when you're wheeling those type of items in. Over here on the partition wall, we kind of set it up with some airliner track down low. So you can buy some hooks. You can just buy a whole, like a 10-pack, something like that, some different setups. 4 airliner cargo track on like Amazon. So you can bring in your upright box, set it in place, put some hooks on there, strap it, bungee it, whatever you need to. You've got the capability to go ahead and secure it. And then you've got these big hooks up top. These are aluminum powder coated. So these are really strong hooks here. This is a utility hook that Cimarron builds, which is different from their bridle hooks. And that's what so many manufacturers for years were using on these type of trailers, was their old traditional bridle hooks. But Cimarron understood. They put so much emphasis on their show trailer line as well. Okay, how do we make it more user-friendly? How do they use the trailer? Well, what do we need? Big hoses, big cords. So these hooks have massive spacing between them, a lot of depth off of the wall itself, and good height. So if you do have those big cords, those big hoses, you can drape them over here and they work really well, versus those bridle hooks where you have stuff kind of falling off and you're having to basically use about 3 or 4 of them just to even put a cord on there, because of how much space it needs to actually hold that. So you've got that capability there. You're gonna have an LED light right above this man door coming in here on street side. So ramp is curbside, door is street side. So if you pull off on the side of the road, it's a lot easier ducking into this tack room itself. Light switch is right here when you come in, but you've got these big LED Optobright lights that are in this front tack room. So typically you get one standard above the tack door, but if we look up at the front of the gooseneck, we've got another one up there. So this is something we just kind of look at when we're ordering our inventory and go, okay, it's a bigger, a little bit bigger front tack room. You've got the carpet, the rubber on the floor, so it darkens it a little bit. And also these Cimarron noses are 8'2" long, so they're a little bit longer than standard, which allows you to have more storage, but it gets kind of dark up there, so we go ahead and like to put that light up there in the actual gooseneck itself. So as you can see, there's the carpet on the deck. You're also going to get this tube. It's a 4-inch tube, removable. You can unpin it and take it out if you want, but this is fantastic when you're throwing equipment up here, so we don't have to worry about stuff shifting off of the actual gooseneck deck while we're driving. And then over to the right, you're going to get a plexiglass tray. That is important, and we will circle around to that here in a few minutes. But keep in mind, that is a tray where we're going to store our plexiglass on the trailer itself. Clothes bar right here. So if you're showing off the trailer, just traveling, you need to hang clothes in here. Again, showing off of it, you can send the kid into the front tack room here to put on their show shirt, and off you go. So it's got a place for that. It's also framed for an air conditioner, or a manual camper style vent, or a 12-volt vent. We have the battery already on the trailer, so 12 volts an option. Manual, obviously don't need any power, but an air conditioner, it's got that capability. All of the framing is the same, so it's all the same footprint. But by having this bracing there, it saves a lot of time, hassle, and money doing it after the fact. Now if you're going air conditioner route, we've got to add a lot of a different power package to it, a 30 amp. We can get you outlets, those type of things after the fact, but at least it is framed for that. And then like I mentioned, you've got the rubber on the floor itself, so really easy to clean. It's not carpet on the floor. If you've watched any of our videos, I am not a fan of carpet on the floor, just because it will stain over time. It'll wear down, it'll hold that odor. You really never get it as clean as the day you buy the trailer. Now the ramp itself is spring assist, so it's really easy and lightweight to get up. As you can see, as you get up to a certain point, these springs actually want to pull it into the frame itself and shut it. And then I've got the butterfly latches I can go ahead and shut, and then these are locked. You can lock these, the tack door, and then this other side ramp here that I'll show you, it's all the exact same key. This one's black sheeted, as you can tell. Really popular. Black, the charcoal metallic, silver metallic. Caribou's a new color. It's a caribou metallic brown. It matches Ford's caribou. And white is standard, but in this instance here, we went ahead with black. That's a really popular option. Again, with the plexiglass and the rims that we have on this, everything ties together really nicely. But as you can see, going into the stall area, we've got that other side ramp going in there. Not only do we have that to load and unload, but we've got a gate that goes across the opening. So if you're showing off the trailer, even just waiting in line, maybe you're unloading equipment, you can drop that ramp, have this gate secure. You can have calves loose in here. You don't have to worry about them getting out. But it's nice to have this gate over the actual side ramp itself. Then as we come in, we've got the traveling gate. So we have a 20-foot stall area in here. We ran this track 17 feet. So from the partition wall back at 17 feet. So if you run it all the way to the back, you'll have just a little 3-foot compartment at the rear, but it has that flexibility to set this gate anywhere you want. On these upright posts, when we get into the actual door frames and framing around our wheel wells themselves, you can have a little larger tube, so they've got notches for those there, but we've got the flexibility to set this gate wherever we want. The 17-inch track allows you as well, if you ever wanted to add a second gate, that could be done as well. That track's already on there, so it makes it pretty easy to go ahead and set a second one. But the traveling gate allows you, okay, do you need 2 compartments? Do you need 1? If you need 1, you can run this gate all the way forward ahead of the side ramp and actually lock it against the partition wall. There's actually locations for it to actually set and lock in right here ahead of the actual opening for the side ramp. Now I will say, when you do roll it this direction, you will have to swing this gate out, and then the gate will go past. When it's in lock position, the gate itself, our traveling gate, our actual latches for it will hit this gate. So again, you just got to open it and swing it out of the way, and then that traveling gate will travel past. But then you have that flexibility with these traveling gates. Again, so many different projects. Maybe it's different species you need to actually separate. Maybe it's, you got a cow-calf pair, maybe you got a heifer, bred heifer, maybe you got younger heifers, steers, bull, whatever you need to. These traveling gates give you all that flexibility. So instead of a fixed gate where we're throwing one calf in a spot and wasting a bunch of space, you know, we could actually move it forward a couple feet, make sure he's good and comfortable, but then allow for a lot more space as well. Now this gate, as you can see, is a no threshold, so there's no bar to step over. And this one here is upgraded with the jail bars, so these vertical bars, rather than kind of more your traditional kind of side slat with more of a stock, you know, air gap as far as up at the top. This allows for so much more airflow. This is what we use on a lot of our horse trailers, especially in the southern states. Real hot, real humid. We need as much airflow as we can. These jail bars make a world of difference on these, just as far as flow itself. And this one, again, the slider, so as you can see, it slides out of the way. I'll just move it a couple spots just to show you how easy it is to operate. We just unpin it from the wall. You get about in the middle, so you're nice and balanced and so easy to slide. Now, down low here at the bottom, you can see we've got a notch because we have to notch for the wheel wells, right? So it will travel within that actual wheel well area. Again, super simple to operate and a lot of flexibility to, again, just allow you to set up your stalls how you want them to. Over on driver's side, you're gonna get a tie rail high and low, tie calves up. Obviously with plexiglass, we can't run lead ropes around the upright posts, so that's where the interior tie rails are really nice. Even on this access gate to hop in here, they've got actual tie rails on there. And then again, LED lights, those OptiBright lights. There is 4 in this stall area. So they're kind of offset. There's one above the ramp, there's one over by that access gate, and then these other 2 are kind of staggered. So kind of depending on where you put this gate itself, you're gonna have a lot of light within the trailer itself. I've never heard customers complain about not having enough lighting. 2-way roof vents as well, so we can create a lot of airflow by having these guys. We can either open them in the forward position so it grabs air and forces it down, or we can force it open at the back. So maybe in those winter months or something along those lines, as heat starts to rise, it gets away from the calves themselves, or you can grab air, open some more at the back and create a vacuum through here. You've got a lot of flexibility by creating airflow or even dialing back on it. So we want to keep calves as comfortable as possible, or whatever other species we have in here. So the roof comes into play with that being said as well. This is standard on every single Cimarron. So those ones you saw, those horse trailers, you might see some big living quarters behind this trailer as we're walking around. Every single one of them has this roof. It is a 1/2 inch thick, reinforced honeycomb design, really strong. It'll take 150 pounds per square foot, so it'll also take substantial hail, so protecting your investment a little bit more as well, versus aluminum sheeted roofs that can easily ding in hail. And then when we get to just temperature control, this insulated roof will keep the stall area 20% cooler than aluminum sheeted roof. That makes a big difference for these calves when we're traveling in the summer months or other species we have in here. It has a R3 thermal value and a gel coating on top. It's white on top, so I mean it reflects a lot of the actual sun itself. And then without having that aluminum roof versus this insulated roof, this stall area is a lot quieter. You don't get that vibration. If you've ever been in the back of a trailer traveling, you understand how loud it can be, and that makes a big difference on just the comfort level for the calves themselves. Then on the floor, you're gonna get to see here worm flooring. So this one here is typically set up standard without any even rubber mats. Rubber mats is really popular, but in this instance, we went ahead and put with the worm flooring in there. Really popular option. It's permanent, it's unpenetrable. So boy, you want to talk about just ease of operation here. Instead of yanking mats out and power washing it out, you just kind of muck out what you can, nose it up a little bit, come in through the side ramp, your access gate, and power wash it out the back. but this worm's going to protect everything, so it's unpenetrable. So urine never makes it down to the aluminum itself. But what's underneath is also the industry's best flooring. So you don't get to see it on this finished product, especially with the worm flooring, but it is a 12-inch extruded deck piece that locks in high and low like tongue and groove. But what's important is those I-beams that run across the trailer are every 4 inches apart. So our supports are every 4 inches. There's actually a V-truss in the middle of that deck that makes it even stronger. So they had the best floor in the industry, they just improved it. But when you have a calf standing on this floor, they're standing on one, if not two support beams on this entire floor. So starting off with a really strong foundation and then building up from there. But really good setup in here. Again, a lot of flexibility by having the traveling gate and also the side access gate that goes across the ramp itself. So again, you get to places, maybe you're setting up some stalls, not quite ready to get the calves off the trailer themselves, you can just leave them on there. Seen people tie them out in this type of setup as well. So again, really nice to have that gate across the side ramp itself. Again, really easy to lift and lock into place. You're gonna have a 16-inch awning light splitting those two ramps. So you have load lights on the outside here splitting those two. So you've got lights on the inside and then that light on the outside as well. A few button marker lights on the top rail, dresses it up. And then you have your plexiglass, okay? So there's your two upper air gaps and then your lower, a little bit smaller air gap. So the lower one comes into play for just getting airflow down, whether it's you actually have some calves on the trailer or some other smaller species, getting that airflow low is key. So you've got that and then your two upper. And what it is there's a track built on all Cimarron stock trailers. Doesn't matter if it has plexiglass or not, it's gonna have this track built into it. So from the point back to the middle of the notch itself is gonna be 4 feet. So you saw that tray in the front, it's gonna accommodate all that. I like to take a pocket knife and just kind of get one ahead of the other. And once I get my first one out, it's pretty simple. I can start pulling pieces out, sliding them forward. But what I want to do is I want to stop when I get all of this plexiglass out of this lower rail here on passenger side before I go to anything else. And I'm going to take a roll of masking tape, painter's tape, or a Sharpie. I'm going to keep that in this trailer. And I'm going to take this section out. I'm going to tape it together. I'm going to write exactly what it is. Passenger lower. I'm going to do the same for passenger upper. I'm going to do the same over on driver's side. We have different lengths of plexiglass. Keep in mind, this has a ramp, that's got the access gate, so they're different lengths. So if you want to hassle with it and try to figure out where the heck it all goes, just take it all out and throw it in there. When you go to put it in, it is not fun. You'll spend a lot of time, say a lot of bad words, trying to get all the pieces to fit correctly. If you know exactly where they go, it's real simple. You'll have it back in this trailer in minutes. I've spent a half hour messing with used trailers coming in, plexiglass just thrown in the gooseneck, and then you go, okay, well, where the heck does this go? I think this goes here. I think that goes there. Nope, that piece goes to the other side. It's a whole mess. Imagine a puzzle that you don't know the picture to, and obviously we don't know the picture of them here. So that's just a helpful tip to really make it real simple. But now we can create all that airflow we want. Sometimes you might dial it back. I've seen a lot of customers, because of how cool the insulated roof keeps it, they might just take out the lower and they keep the uppers in even when they're traveling in the warmer months, because it's, you know, with it being tinted, it's keeping the sun off the cabs. So it's really up to you on how you you know, set it up as far as airflow, but you have the capability to do that. There's a tie rail high and low here on the outside of the trailer, so if you're tying calves up, showing off of it, you've got that flexibility and capability as well. We have two 7,000-pound Dexter rubber torsion axles on this guy, electric brakes. So obviously the tow vehicle needs an integrated brake controller or an aftermarket. If you need to go the aftermarket route, we can help you there. Black rims with silver. So again, it ties in with the color package of the plexiglass, the sheeting, the extruded sides. It all wraps in together really nicely. These are also going to be Goodyear 10-ply tires. You have a 1-year no questions asked warranty on these tires, and that's from the date you purchase it. So if you catch a nail It punctures the sidewall, can't be patched. You have a blowout, you catch road debris. No questions asked from that day you purchase it. 1 year, they'll replace it. So nice to have some warranty there. That's through their vendor, Lion's Head, not directly through Cimarron, so we can help you out with that. On the Cimarron side of things, you're an 8-year structure warranty and 3-year hardware warranty, so really standing behind the product themselves. Now, as we get to the back of the trailer, you've got your traditional swing gate with a slider in it. This slider is 36 inches. We like to build this slider in this opening on the rear as big as we can. On an 8-foot box, it gives us that flexibility and capability to actually make that a little bit bigger. So if we do our button up against an alleyway, another trailer, I'm dragging a bred heifer, a fat steer off of the back there, I don't want to pinch it, that opening too much, so it allows us to have that bigger opening on these 8-wide trailers. But it's just a traditional swing gate with that slider in it. On the top rail, you're going to get your 2 8-inch awning lights, so more lights for you. LED lights here at the back, so really nice to have all that light. So tail lights as well, you're going to see that white X in those guys. That is a built-in backup light. So when we throw this guy in reverse, those guys are going to illuminate. That way, think about it, your truck, we're 25 foot on the floor, our truck's probably a good 30 foot away from the back of this trailer when it's all said and done. Something along those lines on where their actual backup light is. So it's nice to have this back here. You're gonna get home late at night, you're gonna pull into unfamiliar places, not know really what you're working with, so it's nice to have that. You just throw it in reverse and those guys kick on. Light switches for the exterior and interior are right here on this back post. They're all individual, so I can turn the interior on, off, same with the rear, same with either side of the trailer. And even speaking of button up against maybe another trailer or an alleyway, if you look at the rubber bumper, and this kind of goes back to what we were talking about on the bridle hooks. Everybody just used to use the old standard horse trailer bridle hooks. We used to use the old standard rubber bumper at the back, and it's a lot smaller. These stock trailers, the hardware is a lot bigger and deeper, especially with that slider. So in those instances, we want that bigger bumper, so when we're butting up against something, we're not actually getting into that hardware. Tie rail high and low over here on driver's side as well. So if you're tying out, using the actual trailer for tie outs, determine which side you want, which one's giving you the shadier side for them, cooler side for the calves. You can put them on either side. There is an add-on piece that goes over the wheel well too. It clips on to the existing tie rail, goes over the wheels and locks into the other side, so you can actually utilize that for a tie rail. I've seen a lot of people run a lead rope through a actual rim itself, but if you want that bar, that can be added to it. Here's that access gate. We saw it from the inside. So if for some reason we need to hop into that stall area, you've got that capability by having this access gate that goes in the stall as well. Now, this trailer is 8 foot wide, so we don't have any running board. So that's why we put a fold-up step for you, so it's really easy getting in out of that stall area. Same on the front tack door itself. There's a fold-up step there, so making that transition really easy. Obviously, we have the ramp on the other side, but it is nice. You are going to have to go through this door every once in a while, so make it a little bit easier on everybody. Really easy to operate. It's on that gas shock. Another 16-inch awning light above that door there, so you have that exterior light. But as you can see, just a really well optioned trailer as far as the setup goes and size goes. This guy is really easy to get in and out of about anywhere. I'm going to give you the stock number for reference. Again, it's a 2026 Cimarron Stierwalt. Stock number is 5N250448. So we do take trade-ins, so if you're looking to upgrade or downsize, we can help you there. Financing is available and delivery is an option, so we could potentially bring this to your doorstep. So give us a call. Anybody on the sales team can help you out. That number is 303-684-3400. Appreciate you tuning in. Have a good day.